threat. He is a threat to the people of the Sword. And they wonder if this is the moment when Kuma fully embraces becoming a tyrant for the sake of the Sword. Because the last time this happened was when Kuma first used us as shopping and actually hurt people for the first time. That triggered him because of his experience as a slave. Now just imagine how much greater that triggers will be after Jimmy's experiences. After Jimmy's second experiences, this is like twice. Before he threatens the citizens, just wastes, taking a much more brutal and straightforward approach to the problem and the sort of purposes. And I'm in two minds about whether I'd like to see that. There's definitely something to say. And also, running out of words, also has a chapter where Bonnie is deciding where she wants to go on vacation and she's actually reading Kuma's Bible. And it's hard to tell, but I think that Kuma is pretending that he doesn't know what's in there because he acts all surprised about the existence of Sky Islands. So either there was an atlas lying around the church that was disguised as a Bible for reasons, or this is an atlas that Kuma has constructed himself and dressed as a Bible, then left lying around for Bonnie to discover and read so that he can give her as much of the outside world as he can. It's hard to tell because I don't think we've seen the Bible before this panel, but it would make sense. Kuma needs an object that he can carry as both a soldier and a pastor. I also imagine that this is an item that Naomi would love to get a look at, because Kuma might not have been drawing these locations, but he's definitely been creating his own map of the world right here. There's probably coordinates and everything. Bonnie diving into Zoro while he was saving the event. It's much harder now, so that's a painfully good point. So everyone probably remembers when Bonnie stopped Zoro from confronting St. Charles. A bit mind-blowing in retrospect, because the Bonnie we're seeing is her real form, but also the context of this situation is infinitely more tragic now knowing Bonnie's backstory. This whole situation happened because Charles decided this woman's name is Marie. Her fiancé is not Charles, and Zoro stepped into his emotions. By stopping Zoro, Bonnie is condemning Marie to the same fate that history repeating itself, as Marie is now off to become another Ginny, which may result in another Bonnie. So here's what I reckon happened. Famously, Oda improvised all of the supernovas at the very last second because he thought that the Sabati arc wasn't interesting. These characters were all crapped out in a couple of hours. So when planning Bonnie's backstory, I would bet large quantities of currency that he reread everything he'd done with her and decided to bookend Bonnie's existence by essentially turning her mother into Marie. I refuse to believe that these two story ideas happened independently. And we know it wasn't planned from the beginning. So I think that Oda read this and said to himself, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna do the most twisted thing possible here. Storytelling for me. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think Saint Saturn is the father. So what I want to say to this is no chance. But, to be fair, I'm also the person who seriously doubted that Oda would choose the Bonnie as a valuable option. Even then, I just can't see Oda outright labeling any characters as, you know, an R word. And it would put Oda in such a rough position story-wise, because the readers would then demand the most excruciating punishment possible for Saturn. And that's the thing about One Piece. Things happen in genocides and such. But it's not the good guys that do them, it's the bad people. And as bad as these villains are, Oda usually goes out of his way to have them. Agnes not dirty themselves. So I don't think contribution that our main characters are capable of that would satisfy the crime commitment. So it's probably best to have them all right. However, look, just this for a second. Saturn being the father especially if it's also been noted that the official Genesis and so maybe Ginny contracts the Sapphire disease from the Sapphire Planet Man guy. And there's even a brand new dark idea out there that Ginny was purposely infected because this certain world noble collects the bodies of ex-wives who were thoroughly injured. Pretty horrific, but also it's hard to get much worse at this stage. If the Saturn thing was correct though, I guess that could be why Sakazuki was all worried and such, because this is the child of an elder star we're talking about. And maybe Saturn wasn't sent to Egghead because he's the science god. Maybe he was sent there because his child was there and is causing a lot of problems. And Saturn now has to do whatever the world noble equivalent of parenting is. I mean, I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling anything out anymore. Because every week during this flashback, One Piece takes one step closer to becoming Berserk. Bonnie can even be the biological daughter of a holy knight. Yeah, sure, I guess so. I mean, we do have this image of her as Amanda. It does look jarringly like Shanks, so who knows, maybe this is Vigilant Bonnie, and Shanks is her significantly older brother. A lot of people have been pointing their assorted fingers at St. Charles as well, and here is a very, very rare moment that I'm going to defend St. Charles. Of all of the father candidates, he can't be one of them. I know he looks like an obese middle-aged man, but St. Charles is only 24 years old. So he would have been like 10 at the time that Ginny was abducted. So again, this is a fairly unprecedented circumstance, but on this occasion, St. Charles is cleared of the accusations. I'm really hoping that if the Straw Hats see Bonnie's true form with the disease, that Chopper does his thing being doctoring. But as always, there's a lot of ideas about what actually happened to the disease. One train of thought is that Bonnie never got rid of the sapphire scales, and the only cure was the Toshi Toshi no Mi. Sort of like how the only thing that could cure Law was giving him the Oppi Oppi no Mi, so that he could perform an operation that no regular surgeon could. But in Bonnie's case, what the fruit would allow her to do is always live in a distorted future, take on forms of herself that never contracted the disease. And in that case, we may still have yet to see Jewelry Bonnie's true form. And that would seem like a scenario. It's quite literally his dream to cure all of the disease, and this is one of them. So that, or Kuma took the disease into himself, and after seeing this, the tragedy, Chopper will then redouble his vow to one day find a cure. That or Chopper will be neglected. As always, those are the options. Oda's so good at writing, he bamboozled me into having the hots for a 12-year-old. Right, so all I'm going to say about this in this video is that this has been a very fascinating cultural event, because no one is accusing anyone of anything seriously, but despite that, there are very seriously I just wish it was an intentional decision rather than Oda struggling to finish the chapter. It's by Oda a lot, but it's not uncommon to this sketchy vibe in the finished product. That sketchiness is why sketchy lines and final. So it's like Big Mom and Kaido devastating this attack is. So I think you can definitely make an argument that the incomplete manuscript actually adds a whole new layer of pain to Kuma's backstory, because right now he's at a new low. He's just barely, I guess pun intended, he's just barely holding it together, and that's reflected in the art style, which is just barely holding itself together. But it's very hard for me to appreciate it like that, because I look at the art and I know that's not how Oda wants it to be seen. Although it's really interesting from a perspective of art history. When this volume comes out, this is a moment in time that's going to be lost, because it's a really appropriate time for Oda to be struggling, because it mirrors the story of Kuma's struggles. Kuma is doing the best to tank all of the pain in the story, and Oda is doing his best to endure the pain of drawing it. So I just fix it because it's such a fascinating concept. Definitely something that should be included in the inevitable documentary that gets produced at some point. It'll happen. Sabo's too young in that one flashback panel. The current age of Sabo is 22 years old, and that flashback was orange years ago? Question mark. Right, so to clear up the timeline, the events of the Goa Kingdom is the exact year that Jewelry Bonnie was born. And during the montage, the two panels that are juxtaposed are our child Sabo against what looks like a newborn Bonnie, who is sleeping adorably in a net cage that the village elders insisted that Kuma use because they were very crushing. And I think it's a bit confusing because the art actually makes it look like Bonnie has regressed. Like, we see her as a toddler walking, talking, and dressed, and then it's back to by the way, that looks like honestly, could see a path of redemption for a world noble. I could be wrong, but did Vegapunk contact Dragon earlier in the arc? So are we going to see Dragon make an appearance on Egghead? I don't think it's physically possible. We saw him on Momohiro Islands, that was less than a day ago, and that's problematic because Momohiro Island is in paradise, a long way away. And if it's taking Kuma this long to get here, then Dragon certainly won't make it in time. But my question is, when is Dragon going to do anything? We've heard a lot about this fabled revolutionary man. He was even Kuma's hero at one point, but I have yet to see anything that really earns him that status. He knows that Ginny's been captured, he even knows where Ginny's been captured, but he doesn't try to rescue her. And I think it would be fair to say that invading Marijuana to rescue someone would be a futile maneuver if we hadn't already seen Fisher Tiger do just that. I think it would also be fair to say that Fisher Tiger had an unfair advantage from knowing the layout of Marijuana because he was a former slave. It would be fair to say that if Kuma hadn't also been a slave there, and thus also familiar with its layout. Just leaves a weird taste in my fictional pirate mouth that Dragon didn't even try. I really would have preferred knowing that they didn't know, but I know that they did know. I don't like knowing that. It's really not adding up well for the legacy of Dragon that time in a row he did nothing again. Like how during the reverie, you've got Sabo and the commanders invading Marijuana to take Kuma back, whilst Dragon does nothing. Then on Egghead, you've got Kuma fighting for his life alone on the red line against a fleet admiral of the Marines. Meanwhile, what's Dragon doing? Well, he's pouring himself around an indulgent glass of wine in his cozy hideout. One day, I'm sure we'll be shown that Dragon is the most wanted man in the world, but it is not this day. And if you want to know when that day is, then make sure to hit the subscribe button for consistent injections of One Piece culture administered directly into your YouTube feed.
Upgrade your vocal mix from this, how can we touch, to this, how can we keep
in touch?
Yo, what the f is going on with me? Like, am I just f***ing stupid? I have high school knowledge. Yeah, works. Locko. Lock. Lock.
Is that cold? Oh, cool. I just want cool.
Bro, what the f... It ain't nothing yet.
What the fuck you mean? Bro, cool. Call.